I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. And today I am sharing an episode that is inspired by a DM I received on Instagram, and I'm going to share the message with you now. So let's just dive in. The POCF said, "Hi, I just wanted some advice because I've been with my boyfriend for only 3 months, but I'm in love with him so much and we have plans on getting married and starting a family. But the day I met him, he told me he was already planning on going to Alaska for work. But I didn't think he was actually going because they had put him on standby. Anyway, I don't know how to deal with it. And not only that, it just sucks because I have an Android phone and he has an iPhone and we already have Facebook, but every time we try to talk through Facebook, it never goes through and we can only message. Do you know if there are any other apps that I can use or what else I can do?" I love this question because communication is one of our pain points, right, y'all? People are like nodding along going, yes, I've totally been there. And I'm going to go through the reasons that many fishermen aren't able to reach out just so we all have those bases covered if you are new to this game. For example, fishermen must hit the grounds while the catching is good. Their days consist of fish, eat, sleep, repeat. And don't worry, they will contact you when they can because they love and miss you too. Number 2 reason is there's no friggin' time. There's just no time. Sometimes fishermen can contact you directly from their cell phones if they get a bit of signal, or they may be able to use a satellite phone or messaging device on board from time to time. Even if that's true, challenges can still arise. And I mentioned this in a previous episode that a POCF once told me that the Starlink satellite antenna literally fell off the boat of her fisherman's boat, so he could not contact her. Because stuff happens. You don't even know. You think it's going to be smooth sailing, literally, and then that happens. Number 3, there's no signal or service. That's very typical. Some fishermen prefer not to contact their partners until after a season ends. It's just how they work and it doesn't reflect on you. And you can talk to your fishermen beforehand about what your expectations are and what they think is a reasonable time that they would be able to contact you. Maybe they wouldn't be able to talk until the end of the season, but then you get a call here and there. That would be great. But yeah, maybe just talk to them and see what they think. And so you have more of a understanding of what to expect or not to expect. Cause that is the worst. Just thinking you're going to hear from somebody and then you start worrying. Don't do that. You focus on you. Everything's going to be great. They're working hard and they can't wait to get back to you. Do not worry. And some fishermen, they like to keep their heads in the game. Your fishermen, they just want to get it done and get out of there. And that's just how they operate. And I get it. Okay, so you're hearing all this and you're like, yeah, but I actually want to try and contact them. I get it. I hear you loud and clear. Unlike phone calls with your fishermen while they're at sea. Get it? Unclear, clear. Anyway, that was so lame. I'm not even going to cut it because I don't know if I've had a dad joke on this podcast in the last couple months. So anyway, oh gosh. Okay. So on that note, below are community recommended products and ideas that work best for POCFs when they want to stay in contact with their partners who are fishing in remote areas. So here are 7 ways to connect with your fishermen during a long fishing season. Aforementioned satellite phone or satellite messaging device. Chris and I traditionally in the past have used an inReach during lobster season when he's in California and when he remembers to bring it to Bristol Bay. And the Garmin is a 2-way satellite communicator that works where cell phones don't. And it uses something called the Iridium satellite network that has pole-to-pole coverage to send and receive data. So he'll text me from Alaska to check in or message me when he's coming home from lobstering in California at the end of the day. But satellite phones can be pretty pricey and messaging devices are less expensive, but the ability to know where your fisherman is can be worth it. So the satellite phones, yes, are more, you can actually speak to them, and the messaging devices, you literally just message. I should add to this the Starlink. I mean, the Starlink is a whole other ball game because you can FaceTime with them. I remember Chris borrowed a Starlink from his brother this past season in Bristol Bay. And it was kind of funny because he was up in Bristol Bay and I thought, all right, here I go. I'm going to start my POCF solo life. I was, getting my game face on. I was ready. And then Chris is calling like every day, a couple times a day. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was great to know, being in contact with him, to know that he was alive, right? But at the same time, it kind of took the romance away a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, okay. So this is just like every other day. And okay, cool. All right, this is the new normal. But it was interesting because I wasn't able to really dive into my solo life the way that I used to. And I wasn't able to have that longing. Yes, it reduced the fear factor, which another way to reduce that fear factor is to just trust your fishermen and their abilities and to shine a white light of protection over them and then move on with your life. Like that is what I've done in the past and it works to this day. I highly recommend that mode. But just to rely on them to call all the time, like, he was also in the boatyard and he had the crew. They were all working on another person's boat. It wasn't his boat. So he was able to call more frequently. But it was kind of funny because I was like, oh, you're available. And this isn't how it was in the past. And it had those pros and cons in different ways. But of course, glad he's alive always. Okay. She was wondering about apps. So the most popular apps that people use are WhatsApp. I'm sure you've heard of that one. Or the Telegram app. And it's a version of WhatsApp, but it has more privacy and you can have larger group chats. I personally enjoy the Telegram app. So WhatsApp and Telegram, they work great for people without unlimited text service. And they both work with iPhone, BlackBerry, Android, Windows Phone, Nokia, all the things. And you can send text, image, videos, audio messages for free. You just have to make sure that your fisherman has it downloaded before they take off so they can message you if they happen to get service to be able to message you. That's the thing. If they can have service to message you. Okay, so here's another like out of the box way to keep in touch with your fishermen. And this may or may not work depending on their fishery, but you can create a book club with your partner. Like, honestly, choose a book that you'll both enjoy and that's easy to read if they have time. Like, I've noticed suspense novels are pretty good choices because some of them, the chapters tend to be really short to keep the story moving. And Chris and I tried this one year when he fished in Bristol Bay, and it was a really cool, creative way for us to feel connected while he was gone and a great way to reconnect when he returned because we could talk about the book. I think we both read a financial book one year, and then I sent him off with a suspense drama novel this past season, and he loved that one, so that was fun. Another out-of-the-box way is the care packages. I think this is like if your fisherman's an Alaska fisherman, like this way. So during the 6+ week season in Bristol Bay, I'll send Chris at least 2 care packages, and there is a podcast that talks all about how to send a care package. You can also Google it on the blog, POCFpride.com, type in how to send a care package to a commercial fisherman. It'll give you all the details. There are some important notes in there to make sure that your package gets delivered and it doesn't just sit at a PO box or an office, because I've had that happen to me, but there is a special trick that you can do. So check that out on POCFpride.com, or you can search it in the podcast because we got it there too. Here's another way. You can leave long rambling messages, voice messages. And I love doing that. So like when I know that Chris isn't going to be able to pick up, I leave long rambling messages to him when I miss him, and I tell him about my day, funny things that happen, and updates on work and family. Even though fishermen are stuck on a boat, hearing about your day-to-day life helps them feel connected and closer to home and maybe a little more sane because it has something to do other than fishing. They can hear a little bit of normal, and then they get to hear your voice too, which they love you, of course. And then text with emojis. There's something about getting the little kissy face, heart, or the red lips emoji to brighten your day. Like Chris and I are very heavy on emojis. I freaking love an emoji. And sometimes I'll send my favorite emoji combo just to check in. And even if they don't get it immediately, it'll eventually bring a smile or a laugh depending on what you send. So emojis are always fun. Just be like, I'm thinking of you. And then whenever you're really feeling stressed or you're feeling like I can't connect, or I really want to share these items or topics with him, or things that are coming up in my life, but I don't want to word vomit it on the phone when we only have a couple minutes to share together if they call or a message is too long, is the trick is to journal. Nothing is worse than unloading to your partner on the phone And then before you know it and can share all the good stuff, the call drops and you're feeling guilty until the next call. Like that is totally normal. People in our community talk about this. This is a common thread. When you're like, oh, I miss you so much, and click, and you're like, wait, I didn't even get to. Anyway, it's very frustrating. So we have a POCF who suggests writing in a journal when you're gone or when they're gone and you're feeling frustrated or sad. It's such a great way to process your feelings instead of having your partner carry the load on top of what they're already carrying. And you can use this to write down essential items you like to discuss when they're back and settled on dry land. And, in a previous episode, I mentioned talking about having those conversations and those conversation prompts about challenges that you might be having and realizing, what is challenging for me? Why is this hard this season? Or even maybe there's other emotions that arise, like maybe you're angry or resentful about something when they're gone, because things come to the surface. Curious things come to the surface whenever emotions get high, and they can be misdirected. So you can ask yourself, what am I resentful about? Is there something lacking? Is there something I need more of? What feels unfair? What feels unbalanced? These are all helpful things that you can journal and to kind of go through them, kind of figure out what's going on personally and how to communicate them in a way that would be productive and that they'll hear you. And, there's so many, these are 7 different ways, but can you imagine back in the day, pre-cell phone, when you weren't able to contact your fisherman? Jenny Gore-Dwyer, who we love, who's like a matriarch in our community. You may know her from Deadliest Catch and her work with the ALS Institute. She was talking about how pre-cell phone, the only way, and she was in Alaska, the only way that you could communicate with your fisherman was at a payphone. And usually there was a long line behind you and in front of you, like people waiting to get on the phone. So it's like you're calling your fisherman and then you want to talk to them, but then everybody can hear you in line. So you don't even really have privacy. So, and some POCFs back in the day said it was kind of nice because you could send them off, wish them well, that bubble of white light, and trust in their abilities, and then move on with your life and not have to worry about, is he going to call or is she going to call or are they going to call? What's going to happen? So, there's pros and cons with everything. Another thing is, and I've mentioned this before in another podcast episode, is marine trackers. So there's some POCFs in our community that love the marine tracker apps. And I feel like one is called Marine Tracker. You can Google them and you can see all the different ones. But depending on if the boat transmits, if they have radar or if they have AIS and they transmit and receive, I am fuzzy here. I'm as fuzzy as a phone call with a fisherman in a remote part of Alaska on this. But some POCFs do like a marine tracker so they can see where their fisherman's boat is. And some say it does not help their psyche at all because they're like, wait, where's this boat going? He said he wasn't, or she said they weren't going this way. And then next thing you know, you're wigging out. I personally do not use one. I don't think Chris's boat in California actually could even show up on a marine tracker, but I'm in the group of, absence makes the heart grow fonder, trust in their abilities and pray and move on. That's where I am. Also, yes, I would like a text from time to time, but because that's what he's able to do, I know that I can at least hear from him maybe once a week, maybe when he's in Alaska. I think one time it was 2 weeks and that was kind of intense, but for all of us it's different. It was just intense for that because I was just so used to us communicating in a different way. But these are different ways that you can connect with your fishermen during a long season. And I know some of them are out of the box, but I mention them because they give you more freedom to really dive into your personal life. Because yes, we are the partners of commercial fishermen and we are united through our bond and our love for our fishermen. And that's what unites us, but it isn't our identity. We are so many other things. We are so diverse. We are multifaceted, incredible people. And the out-of-the-box suggestions are there for you to be able to harness that and really get to know yourself more. And that's one of the jewels of being a partner is that we have time to ourselves to really, really get to know ourselves in a whole different, intimate way that maybe we wouldn't if our partners were around. And maybe sometimes it feels scary, but man, what an ultimate gift to be able to give yourself, to be able to really understand what your fears are and why, what your challenges are, what your joys are, what brings you so much happiness. And and what you just don't want to deal with anymore. I mean, honestly, that could be with anything. That could be with friends, family, loved ones. It could be with, I don't know, food that you buy at the grocery store, or I don't know, routes that you take to work. I mean, I'm talking whatever, but we get the chance to build the life that we want because of the distance. We are able to cultivate that in a totally different way, and then come back with our fishermen and communicate those needs in a constructive way. And if you need help with that, we have those conversation prompts in a previous episode that I hope that you check out and that you would love. And I am so happy that we got to chat about all this stuff. I mean, this is the stuff that I don't get to really connect with other people about. My family and friends, I love them. They are supportive. And I know you feel this way about your family and friends too, but talking with them about the nuances of our lifestyle can be interesting, because they can kind of like be like, oh, what? That's funny. What's going on? But it's like, yeah, it is funny to an outsider, but these are actual legit ways that we're able to feel more whole and connected to our partners, and even more whole and connected to ourselves. And so I appreciate y'all being here, because it just feels good to talk to people who get it, you know? I mean, honestly, that's how we found each other in the first place, right? I mean, I started this whole community, or y'all started this whole community, and it all started from one blog post when I just threw it out there, because there was literally nothing on the internet about long distance dating a commercial fisherman. I Googled how to date a commercial fisherman. There was nothing out there. And so I said, well, I guess I'm going to write something about this. And that was the one post that y'all wrote in about and said, I totally understand this. This is my life. I get it. And then that inspired me to lean in and write more articles about this amazing lifestyle. And look at this. You guys have come together with each other and built this incredible community. We now have a presence on Instagram. You can find us at megan.waldrop. We have our awesome blog that is just full of goodies. We have this incredible podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And we have our private communities, which are even more incredible if you want to dive deeper. And the link's in the show notes if you want to learn more. And so I so appreciate y'all being here. And if you're wanting to support the community more, and you're not sure how, if you hit the subscribe button, that actually really does help a lot. That is a way that we can help show other people that our community is alive and out there and really loves hearing this podcast. And we come back, we are here. We're here. We're not going anywhere, right? We're the partners of commercial fishermen. Dang it. We've been here for centuries, but now we have a platform to speak. This platform is your platform. This is not just for me to talk. I would love to hear your story. If you have any type of small fishing business, any business, it doesn't even have to be related to fishing. I want to know more about you. Like, tell me what your lifestyle is like. Look, what's it like for you? Are you a single solo parent whenever your fisherman's gone? Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you don't want to have kids. Like, that's totally legit. That's have a whole episode about how I chose to be child-free. And I know that choice is a privilege to many who may want children, and my heart goes out. But my point is, I would love to highlight you. Maybe there's a challenge going on in your fishery and you feel like nobody's listening. Believe me, I understand how that feels. If you want a platform, this is your platform. You can reach out at support@POCFpride.com and say, hey, I want to take a turn on the mic. We can coordinate an interview and let's get you on here. And you can also use that link, your podcast, to blast it out to other politicians, to any other type of officials, to other people in your community, to help really understand your side more and to see where you're coming from and to see where, what this commercial fishing life is all about. It's so much deeper and so much richer than anybody could ever truly understand unless you live it. And that's what we're here for. We're here to support you in that journey because we are in it together. Aw, getting all choked up. I appreciate y'all so much. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you feel inspired. And until next time, y'all, with love and POCF pride. Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.